Hello and welcome back to Democracy, everybody. Welcome back to Helldivers 2, where today we're going to be doing another tier list. This is going to be based on all the armor passives. So some of these armors can be a little bit better than others, even with the same effect. It kind of depends on the type of armor and the playstyle that you really enjoy. And you should pick whichever thing you like the most over necessarily whatever might be the best, at least in my opinion. So let's begin with our ones here. We have them all in alphabetical order, and our very first one is called Acclimated. Now there's only one armor that actually has this, but this one is the free armor. It's the kill zone armor. It's light armor, and this one gives you 50% resistance towards fire, gas, acid, and electrical damage. So basically just 50% resistance towards all elements, which is actually pretty good. That's pretty nice. I would actually put this one up into like B tier. There's only one armor, but you start out with it and it's a pretty good armor. You might want to more specialize this with like Inflammable if you're going with a particular fire build, but it's pretty good overall. Our next one is the Advanced Filtration. Advanced Filtration gives you 80% resistance towards gas attacks. Now that might sound pretty decent because 80% is a lot of damage resistance, and some of the other ones that we'll be seeing here in a little bit are pretty good because of that. Gas is probably the least useful though out of any of the resistances because there is no enemy that uses gas attacks right now. You can only be gassed by your own attacks or by teammates' attacks with things like the guard dog, the sterilizer, or the orbital gas strike. Gas grenade I think also counts for this. Those things aren't really that devastating though, unless you drop a gas strike directly on top of you, in which case it might actually kill you if you get hit directly with the bomb. But other than that, like Advanced Filtration is really not necessary. Even with the gas warp on that we got with this, it still doesn't even pair that well with that. So it's gonna go to D tier. It's probably one of the least useful armor passives on the game because it's just not necessary. Then we have Democracy Protects. Democracy Protects is definitely a very fun armor passive to have. This actually goes on a lot of armors, particularly medium armors, where this one makes it so you have a 50% chance of surviving fatal damage, meaning that you could potentially call down something that is fatal directly on top of you, or if you were to get hit with a fatal strike, you may not die. That's potentially pretty good. I mean, it only works 50% of the time, but when it does work, it can save you quite a bit, and it allows you to do a lot of really stupid things, which is pretty fun. So this one's got to go up into B tier in my opinion. You could argue that it's not really that great, and honestly, I don't use it that much either, but it is funny when you do use it and you get a lot of value from it. It's actually quite decent then, especially if it triggers multiple times. Then we have Electrical Conduit. This one gives you 95% electrical resistance, and that's potentially pretty useful. Now, most enemies don't use electricity. The only real ones that do are like the Illuminate, where the harvesters can if you get too close to them. The floating turret, whatever the heck things they are, the drones that seek you out, they can zap you, but they don't do that much damage. And then like the Tesla towers that they have can also do damage to you. This is most useful for like teammates that are also bringing electrical weapons. Electrical weapons I don't find to be all that useful throughout Helldivers 2. Like the arc thrower is pretty decent, but then like the blitzer I don't really care for. It depends. If you're running the Tesla tower, then this one can be nice if you just end up walking into them pretty often. But honestly, I don't find the Electrical Conduit that great. I'm going to put it up into C tier because it is more useful than like Advanced Filtration. If you're going with a full electrical build or your teammates are, you can get value from it. You don't have to worry about getting zapped then, but generally speaking, it's not really that great. It's not as good as some of the other ones could be. Engineering Kit reduces the recoil of firing any weapon whenever you're crouching or prone by 30%, as well as it also gives you 2 more grenades. Engineering Kit's actually pretty decent. Like 2 more grenades is pretty nice. Getting recoil reduction on top of that is good. This is nothing but a bonus, and unless you're running like different armor that might be potentially better than this, I'm going to say that this one's like an A tier or an S tier. It depends on what type of grenades you're running. It's really useful if you're running like thermite grenades where you only get 3 of them. Now you get 5 of them. So that's pretty good. Less useful if you're running a grenade you get a lot of. Kind of depends there, but it's going to be good on basically every build. It's not going to be a bad thing at all. Then we have Extra Padding. Extra Padding is fantastic. I absolutely love this one. This one just gets you pretty much the next armor rating up. So it's not always that, but it generally just gives you more durability than you would otherwise have. So you can go from basically wearing light armor with extra padding, that makes it basically medium armor. Medium armor with extra padding takes it up to basically heavy armor, and then heavy armor with extra padding gets you like extra heavy armor. And extra heavy armor is really good in this game in my opinion. It makes it so you can tank through a lot of stuff. Even on like the light armor, it's super nice because then You're not dying nearly as quickly as you otherwise would be, just because you're about as tanky as medium armor, but you don't get any of the downsides from it, so you can just run around more. I would consider extra padding nothing but a bonus on any armor that you like, so I'm going to put this one up into S tier. I think this one is my favorite, or one of my favorites. It's one of my go-tos that I always end up using. Fortified's also really good. This one reduces your recoil, similar to Engineering Kit, whenever you're crouching or prone by 30%. That's really good for certain weapons, and it also gives you 50% explosive resistance. That's just nice. That's really good overall. There's a lot of things that could blow you up, and this makes it so you're less likely to blow yourself up or get blown up by teammate stuff or blown up by enemy stuff, since enemies use explosives fairly often, at least like bots do. Illuminate and bugs not so much, but there could always be environmental hazards that could blow up. Fortified is pretty good on just about everything, so I would also probably put this one, it's either like high A tier or it's like low S tier. I'm thinking like low S tier though. I really like Fortified, it's pretty nice. Then we've got Inflammable. Inflammable is pretty cool. This one reduces your fire damage taken by 75%. This is pretty good, as well as it takes longer for you to actually light on fire. Now, fire isn't a super common thing that enemies use, but fire does spread if you're using it, so if you really like using the flamethrower or any other weapon like that, like a little secondary flamethrower too, that's pretty nice. It's also really, really good if you want to be taking it with the energy weapons. Like, it's particularly really good with the double sickle, which just came out, or twin sickle, whatever that gets called. Flammable is really nice then, because you can just keep firing the weapon. You don't have to worry about burning yourself as much. You reduce damage from there. Inflammable is actually pretty good. It's probably the best of the elemental resistances, just because you can trigger it yourself, and it does counter some enemies, like the Hulks can't kill you nearly as quick if they have a flamethrower, unless they hit you with a saw blade, in which case then they can. It's going to go up into A tier. Inflammable is pretty good in my opinion, at least if you're running a build centered around it. If you're not, then you're probably not going to take it, but that's kind of the same thing with all the elemental resistances. Then we got the newest armor passive, which is called Integrated Explosives. This makes it so when you die, then you explode 1.5 seconds afterwards, and the explosion does a lot of damage. This is 2,000 damage on the initial explosion. That gets reduced the further away enemies are. It also has anti-tank armor on it too, so it can kill a charger outright. It can do a lot of damage to like Titans. It can do a lot of damage to tanks. It can kill Hulks outright. It does require you to die though, and for your body to still be in a position close enough to do something to get some more damage out of it, which is kind of not always the case. Sometimes you die and you get flung into the sky, and if you explode up there, you're probably not doing anything to anyone, or you might die next to teammates and kill them too, but that's always a possibility. It's very similar to like Democracy Protects in a lot of ways, where it can be pretty good. It just requires you to die, so you may not trigger this that much, especially if you're doing well, but on missions where you are dying quite a bit, if you end up taking out things like objectives or tanks or chargers or Hulks or Titans or something, you get some value from it, so I'm going to put it up into B tier. If nothing else, it's super fun. Medkit is pretty good. Medkit allows you to hold 2 more stims than what you would normally be able to hold, as well as it increases the duration of stims by 2 seconds. So 2 seconds is pretty useful, because that also counts for the lingering stim effect, where you heal up over the time even if you're taking damage during that. And just having more stims is pretty useful. There's no real downside. Having more stims is nice, even if you're just popping them to get extra stamina to run, that's really good. And if you're running the experimental infusion, this will get you more damage reduction, more movement speed, and more damage for a short duration. So Medkit is also going to go up into S tier. It's really good. Then we've got Peak Physique. This one increases your melee damage by 100%. I think this one has been fixed. It was kind of bugged to where it wasn't working with melee, as well as it increases your weapons handling, so there's less drag whenever moving the guns. That's really noticeable on things like the autocannon and on like the heavy machine gun. And more melee damage is actually pretty nice, especially if you want to go with like the Constitution. The Constitution makes a pretty decent spear, kind of a better spear than the secondary spear, and if you like melee, then Peak Physique is actually pretty good. Even outside of that, it's kind of nice. I still think it's a little bit niche, but it's good nonetheless. It's nothing but a bonus. I'd put Peak Physique up into either high B tier or low A tier. I think I'm going to put it into B tier. Then we got Scout. Scout's generally found on light armors, and this one makes it so whenever you ping a place on the map, this one will then generate scans around that every 2 seconds, and it also reduces the range at which you can be seen. This one's kind of useful for running around maps if you want to be sneaky. I don't really like playing sneaky in Helldivers though. I don't think that that's really necessary. Even on the highest difficulty, it's usually more fun to just fight everything anyway. So I don't really find myself using Scout too much, and I always forget to ping stuff. So for me personally, this one is like probably a D tier. I don't really use it, but I do think that it can be useful. So I'm going to put it up into C tier, but That one's probably the one that I run the least out of any of these armor passives. I just don't find it to be super useful. Then we've got Servo-Assisted. This one increases your throwing range by 30%. This counts for everything that you can throw, so grenades and stratagems, and it also provides you with 50% more limb health. Limb health is actually pretty good because it makes it so like your arms and legs don't break as quickly. This isn't going to help if it hits you in the head. It's not like if you would die if it hit you in the head, it's still going to kill you regardless. And throwing stuff further is actually pretty nice. I do like that, especially for barrages. It's really good to toss those on top of enemies' areas. It does always throw me off though, switching between Servo-Assisted and anything else. If I don't have anything else, then it feels kind of weird. At least if I've been running the Servo-Assisted for quite a while. So I'm going to put this one up into A tier. I think it's actually pretty good. I do like it. It's nice to chuck stuff even further than you already did. Then we got Siege Ready. Siege Ready increases the reload speed of all weapons by 30%. It also increases your ammo capacity by 20%. It's supposed to just be primary weapons, at least that's what it said, but it also counts for every weapon, which I hope they don't ever take out, because this thing's actually pretty awesome. This one is just a passive buff that's really good for everybody, so I'm going to say it's S tier. It's really nice. And then our last one is Unflinching. Unflinching makes it so Helldivers don't flinch when they get hit, or helps prevent them from flinching when they do get hit. This one is awkward, to say the least. Like, if you're wearing heavy armor with Unflinching, you can kind of do this, especially if you got the Vitality booster, and just stand out in front with like a machine gun or something. Even if you're getting hit with enemies, then you can still keep firing back, but it does require you to either have kind of nerves of steel by standing out there, because most people's reaction when you are getting hit multiple times is to run away and heal up, or to, you know, get to cover or something. So Unflinching doesn't always come in handy, but if you do have like yourself set up with like a machine gun or something, and then you have a teammate sitting behind you with like a syringe gun, Unflinching can be kind of useful, but that's a very specific situation and it usually doesn't happen. So I'd say Unflinching is also like D tier. I just don't find it that useful. It's not really that great, and I'd rather have something like Fortified or Extra Padding or Servo-Assisted for basically the same sort of job, where I can just tank through hits better thanks to those. Hey everybody, Future on here. Well, they just came out with a new passive for Helldiver called the Gunslinger armor, and this one is pretty cool. So this one came with the new War Bond, and there is a light, medium, and heavy armor for it. Gunslinger will get you increased damage, increased holster and draw speed, and increased reload speed with your secondary weapons. And this one's pretty cool. I do like this one quite a lot, especially with the Senator revolver. It's really strong with that one, although it does feel pretty good on some other ones. Like I tried it with the sawed-off shotgun. I haven't tried this with all the secondaries yet, but generally speaking, the drawn holster speed is really nice if you want to pair this with like the Eruptor, and it's also pretty good if you want to pair it with like a different sniper rifle or designated marksman's rifle, something that has kind of a slower follow-up to it. It's pretty good. It also just makes all of your secondaries a bit better. So overall, I would probably put this one into either A or B tier. I'm thinking more B tier right now, but if I end up using this a lot more and end up liking it a lot more, I might move it up to A tier because it is a very fun armor overall, and it's got some really cool armor looks to it as well. So this is where I put all the armor passives in Helldivers 2. There's a lot of really good ones. There's some that I don't find myself using that much. There's more good ones than bad ones, and it's ultimately up to you as to which armors you enjoy. Tell me which of these you like the most. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody!